Hey there, homeschool mom. Welcome to our show today. I'm so excited because we have Kim and Jenny here today to talk to you.
Yay, hello, it's Kim here.
And we are going to be talking about some of the things we wish we would have done differently when we started homeschooling. And over the years, we have talked a lot about all the things we wish we would have done differently. But today we've narrowed it down. We're going to talk about our top two today, things that we wish we would have done differently. Now, looking back over the years, now that our kids are older, and we want to share them with you because we've gotten a lot of gray hairs from them, and we feel like this is wisdom that is worth sharing. So we hope this is an encouragement to you. And we know that this is the time of year when people are starting to figure out what they're doing next year for homeschooling, or maybe you're exploring homeschooling. And if you are, we just want to tell you that we have a free resource for homeschool moms who are looking for different steps to help them. And it is at the homeschoolwell.com/checklist. It's just a little step-by-step download on ways that you can get started homeschooling if you need some hand holding and some help. And so you can go to our website and check that out too. Kim, are you ready?
I'm ready. Can I reveal the top two? And then we'll go into detail about both
Sure,
of
do
them.
it.
Okay, let's do a little drum roll.
Okay. Da, da, da.
Number one thing that we wish we would have done differently. I want you to imagine, mamas, a window of opportunity. And this window of opportunity is pretty short, really. And we had no idea. We wish that
Right.
someone would have said this, what we're about to say to you, about the window that your kids are more receptive to having discussions with you about Jesus and the
Yes.
Bible and all things having to do with God, and even
Hmm.
talking about like comparing other religions and other faiths, and having these candid discussions, and really being able to sit around with the Bible at the middle and just seeing them be so receptive. It's like the window before they start wrestling with their own faith.
Right.
And when you have kids and they're 10 and 12, and somebody says that to you about them wrestling, when I heard, that term, your kids are going to be wrestling when they're with their own faith soon. I thought it was like, I don't know what I thought, 19, 20, for I don't know, but I certainly didn't think that it would come on. I felt like 12 or 13. I don't know. I feel like puberty just kind of brings that more. My kids, at least, were more introvertly reflective. What am I trying to say? They didn't want to have the give and take with me about their feelings as much as they wanted to start evaluating them personally within themselves and among, like their thoughts. So they kind of got more quiet about things of the Bible. And you know what?
Like more
In my
introspective.
Introspective.
Yeah.
That's the big girl word. And what we're going to talk about second, actually, which I probably should have revealed already. This is supposed to be just the quick thing. Anyway, what we're going to talk about second probably goes hand in hand with my experience. So everybody's window is different, of course, for this, right? But that window of opportunity, we just want you to know, is very short, and we'll expound on that in just a moment. But I need to tell you number two, which I should have done before. Number two, drum roll, is engaging our extended family more directly in homeschool activities, and even just informal kinds of ways that you can then add it to your lesson plans, but they don't need to know about it beforehand.
Right.
Right? So, grandparents, husbands, but extended family also, aunts, uncles, even if they're out of town, utilizing this great technology. We just think that those two things, focusing more on Jesus and the Bible and going more deep with it, and number two, engaging our extended families more and giving them a part of educating our kids,
Yeah,
those two things.
definitely. Well, let's go back to number one. It's amazing, this window of opportunity. And I thought it was cool that you used the word window. And I'm like, that's exactly it. Because when we first started, I had no idea that there was this window that was going to shut. right? Your kids are so curious when they're little. Mine were. And they love talking about Jesus. We love talking about God. We love talking about the Bible. And then as time went on, like you said, when they become 12, 13, and those hormones start kicking in, they do become more quiet about their faith. And I don't know what the word is. Like, Mom, like, you don't have to talk about God all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what happened.
I read a quote the other day and it was about, our job is to make our teenagers feel safe to kind of push the envelope and to maybe debate with us and
Yeah.
to find out who they are independently. And if you're talking about Jesus in the Bible, that's just another thing. But I think also for us, Jen, is because we taught in church with them all the time and we taught little
Mhm.
kids, and we didn't really have as much exposure to teenagers.
Right.
Because we're talking about really our first kids too. They're the same age, about 20 years old. So yeah, just with your oldest and you realize, wow, that went fast. I wish I would have spent more time really letting them have more involvement. I don't know, like I wanted to hear their feedback more,
Hmm.
as opposed to me just going through the curriculum or teaching them what I wanted to about the Bible. Like we used devotionals and that kind of thing. I wish that I would have just asked them, like I did with so many other topics,
Right.
what do you want to learn about in science, or what field trips do you want to go on? I'm always making this big deal, right, about connections in your brain and connecting things that you're good at with what you don't know to what you already know and da da da
Yeah.
da. And I feel like I could have gone deeper with that on a more consistent basis with biblical conversations and really allowing them a stage to just be able to unpack all of their feelings about it before we got to the point where they're then like doing it all by themselves.
Right.
I mean, I
Yeah.
hope they're both still doing it all by themselves. They're both still reading the word. I hope they are, right?
Yeah. But this is where they find their own. And when you said piquing their curiosity, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I wish I would have said, what makes you curious about God? Or, what are you curious about the Bible? What do you want to learn about it? What questions do you have? Instead of me driving everything, me
And
driving
like,
the curriculum.
yeah, and like, what is God telling you about this or that thing?
Yeah, that too.
How, yeah, because now I want them to, like, what do you think God wants you to do with your next step in life? Now they're at this point where it's like
Yeah.
seriously a big deal. Their next step in life is like
Right.
adulthood. If my daughter's
Hmm.
20, she can be 21 in June. My son will be 17 in August. And to say to them now, hey, let's talk about what God is telling you to do with your life right now. It's not like if I imagine them little with those big eyes and so receptive to me and me asking that, I'm sure I would have gotten a great, fun, funny, happy feedback. Whereas now it just gets so much more serious when we're talking about Jesus and God. And I don't know if it's because like sin is real when you get older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember, I'll never forget my girl asked me about what abortion was. And I was like,
Yeah.
girl, she was like 10. I'm like, just be a kid. Let's just not go there yet. And maybe that's where I'm saying I should have done it
Right.
differently. I should have maybe had that conversation. But I'd like, once they realize the full ramification of sin and the fallen world that we have, it just is such a letdown and such a disappointment.
Yeah. Because
And then
adulting is hard.
it's hard, right?
It's a lot of temptations as a young
Yes.
adult and older teenager. And that's when, yeah, it's not just little lies or something, it's big things they're wrestling with and futures and, not just fighting with their sister.
Right. So keeping that line of communication open before the window of opportunity closes.
Hmm.
Jenny and I agreed that we could have done a better job at that. And let's just roll that right into the second point
Yeah.
because, right, maybe it's because we didn't engage. And for me, I'm going to say right off the bat, my husband more in that part of our curriculum.
Hmm.
He probably should have been. the one to start those biblical conversations more.
Hmm.
But I think in our homeschool mind, because I was a teacher, it was always set up like, I'm doing it. We're not really doing it together.
Right.
And he works nights. And so in the daytime, when we were at home trying to school, he would walk through the house with some kind of tool because he also fixes things and is always doing some thing with tools, which my boy would just be like, "Rrr," his head would just go right to whatever was in dad's hand. If dad walked across the room while we were doing something with tools in his hand and he was going through there to go to the garage, forget it. And where I had to say to him, Mark, will you please not walk through the room with your tools because the boy cannot concentrate. He just wants to follow you and do what you're doing with you and help you.
And it was a distraction where it could have been an educational thing that they could have done together. Yeah.
But also I think it created this culture of,
Yeah.
you're not part of this homeschool, like you're the
Right.
principal.
Right.
Um, but also I know, Jenny, you have a great story about your parents.
Yeah. And I wish, I mean, my husband worked during the day, so he wasn't involved and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I wish I would have been more intentional and we would have talked about things more instead of me, again, being like the teacher in control and whatever. But my parents, I started realizing this later, and it was almost too late. It was right at the beginning of COVID. It was like now, like March, 5 years ago, right? When everyone and everything shut down and everyone was just home all the time, and we had been reading some historical fiction books. One of them was on the Great Depression. I was like, oh my gosh, what else can I do in this house? Like, we are so bored. My
It is the Great
kids,
Depression. What a
I
great
know,
timing
right?
to study the
So I
Great
was like,
Depression
I
during the
found some
pandemic.
recipes to go along with this book, and one of them was water pie. And my boy loves to eat. So I'm like, perfect. This will give us something to do. And I'm like, you know what? We got nothing but time. So we're going to make our own pie crust too. We're going to make this water pie, and we're going to make our own pie crust, even, which I don't know how to do. I think my mom has done it with me 2 times in my whole life. And there's no time for that anymore, right? We go to the store and buy pie for different holidays. So I said, hey, mom, do you want to work with my kid on making a pie? And so we got on iPads and did a Zoom, and that's when all the Zoom was free. And she taught him over Zoom how to make this pie crust, and we made water pie with her on Zoom. And I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't we been doing this? And then my mother-in-law is a teacher in Orlando, and she started doing a book study with him. This was after the depression pie. We were on to the next pie. Or the next book that he started reading. It was Anne Frank. And so she taught this in fourth grade to her class. And she was like, I'll do it with Hayden over Zoom. And so she did like a book study with him over Zoom to
Oh,
read
that's
every
so
day with him.
special.
Yeah, they
So
would
special.
read together every day, Anne Frank, and talk about it and discuss it. And he had like a book buddy to discuss with. And she would look things up online, like the house, all the historical
Yeah.
places and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is
So she
so
was sharing
great.
screen. She was sharing screen and showing like virtual field trip.
Yeah. Oh, they were doing this whole thing. She's in Orlando, he's here in Pinellas County, and they were taking virtual field trips together, and
Girl, I
and
think
both
we should.
reading the books together.
I love this. I think we should offer this to our members. Like I've said that before about my mom. Just this year, Wyatt had to interview someone about something to do with the depression for his class that he's taking online. I went over with him so he could interview her. And afterwards, he was like, that was super cool.
Oh, wow.
Like I just learned so much from grandma. That's all he said to me was that was super cool. But
Yeah.
I know that's what he meant,
Right. Yeah.
And I did record it. And remember, I said to you that we should
Yes.
put those private podcasts. Like I've
Hmm.
recorded my mom talking about so many crazy things about her life because she was born in 1935. She was raised in the Depression. There's not many of them left. My
Right.
dad, when my kids were little, we were studying birds for the 4-H contest or whatever 4-H unit.
Hmm.
And we used the Flying Creatures book that Jenny is like such a fan of, right? And my dad always has bird feeders in his house. like a crazy amount of bird feeders in his front and backyard. They know all the birds. He's a bird watcher, Audubon. Let's go. So I
Hmm.
said, "Hey, Dad, can you do this like bird class for my kids?" And he was like, "No, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, no, no, it's not a bird class. Forget I said that." So you got to be careful how you word it,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, I just want the kids to come over and sit in your front yard while the bird feeders are active, far enough away so that you can tell them what the birds are that are coming to eat at the bird feeder. Very relatable to him,
Right.
right? If I said bird class, he's like, heck no, I'm not doing that. That
Right.
sounds like
No,
too.
just
But
talk
when
about
I
what
put
you
it,
know. Yeah.
yes, just talk about what you know. And like, think about this as we're wrapping it up.
Hmm.
When I was a teacher, and they still have this day, the Great American
Yep.
Teach-In Day. My sister, who is a hairdresser, used to come to my class every year with all her hairdressy stuff. She loved it. It was so sweet and fun. And, she would curl their hair with the curling irons or whatever. And so, I mean, gosh, teachers use their family who have mad skills or,
Yeah.
some hobby or passion or some cool job to come in and talk to them.
Yeah.
Think about that. Who in your family, and even if they're far away now, you just get on the Zoom
Right.
call or Google Meet. Who in your family can your child learn something really cool from? Right?
Yeah.
So many options out there.
Yeah. Utilizing all of these great resources that are so impactful and like carry on like oral tradition in your family and just all the things, that gel families together. I definitely wish I would have asked them to be more involved in what we were doing. I think it would have
Yeah.
added such special times, great memories, and
Yeah, because that's
just
the
a
other part.
whole layer of
Yeah, is
learning.
because then but also the whole layer of learning, but you're also bonding your family, like you said before. They're making connections that they
Yeah.
never would have had. Hayden and your mother-in-law had conversations they would have never had.
Yeah. Being locked in a house
Yes, like
during
so
COVID,
timely
where I
too.
was like, oh my gosh, this is so relatable.
Now you planned that, right?
No,
Did you
I
do that?
didn't. That was a God thing. No, that
Wow,
just came about at that exact time, like
that's
during
amazing.
COVID and Anne Frank being locked in that house. So they had a lot to talk about.
And see, this is the other part, going back to God,
Yeah.
right? And Jesus, and you keeping that number one. That's the number one thing. And then pray about it. He will open doors. If you have
Right.
no idea how you would use extended family, or if you don't have a big extended family, maybe there's friends that you have. But if you don't know, you have no ideas, start praying about it and he will
Yeah,
open doors.
for
All
sure.
right. And
That's right.
if you want extra help from us, that's what we do in our online community. We meet every week and we can give you specifics about how to put these ideas in action in your homeschool journey.
That's right.
And I think we're done for today.
We are.
And don't forget to get your free checklist. Don't,
Yes.
Jenny, you didn't make a big deal about your beautiful graphics that you made in the checklist.
Oh, well,
So
there are graphics in there. It's
they're
not just a
beautiful.
checklist. There are some like encouragement pieces in there as well. So,
And Jenny made
absolutely.
all those, she made all those beautiful graphics with our most important scripture that kept us going through our homeschool journey. And you
That's
can
right.
keep them on your phone as the wallpaper. We still do.
That's right.
And we rotate them with the season. They're very seasonal. There's different colors of the flowers. I love my girl. She's so detail oriented. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. So go get
Yes.
your homeschooling checklist, the homeschoolwell.com/checklist. And we will be back next
Next
week
week.
with a whole nother episode.
That's right.
So take care.
Have a great week. Bye.
Bye bye.